Hello everyone, Robert Jensen here, sharing our first video travel blog specifically for pilots. This is where we will be showcasing a new destination every episode. It will highlight in-flight videos, the approaches into each featured airport. We'll be reviewing flight planning checklists, en route and arrival information, recommendations for the best FBOs, activities, hotels, and fine dining and wines. We'll take you through step-by-step of every aspect for planning the perfect pilot getaway. This is our first episode and it's going to feature Elk, California. Every time I mention Elk to someone new, I always get the same response. Where is Elk? And why Elk, California? Which is a small, unknown town of only about 200 on the northern California coast. Well, it's primarily because of one man in particular, and that's Matthew Kammerer. Back in April of 2019, my wife Amy discovered a New York Times article entitled 36 Hours in Mendicino County, written by Frida Mullen. So 90 miles north of San Francisco lies Mendicino County, and it's just far enough away to maintain its rural identity and eccentricities, including its long-standing status, one of the country's major marijuana-producing regions. The big news in Elk is primarily culinary. The 30-year-old chef at Elk's Harbor House Inn was named a James Beard Award semifinalist for the best chef in the West. Besides the Harbor House 8 to 12 course prix-fixe dinners, there are cheesemakers, upstart breweries, exceptional farm stands, museums, beaches, and art galleries to enjoy. We're going to divide this episode and every episode into 8 segments. The first segment will begin with pre-flight planning. Basically know before you go. 2, we'll talk about Elk and the vicinity. 3, we'll talk about the flight to Little River Airport, how to get there. 4, we'll discuss Little River Airport, the FBO there, fuel availability, and transportation. 5, we'll talk about the hotels, which we've already preluded to. 6, dining options. 7, activities in the area. And finally, 8, the departure from Little River Airport. So first of all, when planning to go to Elk, I would advise traveling sometime between June and the end of October. This is when the weather is most conducive to VFR flights. Little River lies about 3 miles inland at an elevation of 572 feet, which is typically high enough to remain clear of the fog that often plagues the Pacific coast and Mendicino. A good alternate, if it is fogged in, is to fly into Ukiah, which is about 43 miles to the east and is almost always clear and has rental cars available also. I would make arrangements to stay at Harbor House Inn about 6 months prior to your planned visit. Same with dinner reservations, they fill up fast. Our favorite cabin is the Ocean Song, which has the best views and, in our opinion, the most privacy. Reserve a car as soon as you can with Air Galore, 707-972-4498. They're on the field and very reliable with reasonable rates. Our home base is Medford, Oregon, and it's about an hour and 10-minute flight direct. We fly typically at 11,500 feet down to clear the mountains. Another option is to dogleg it down to Redding and then cut across. There is a single RNAV approach to runway 29 from the south, which has an MDA of about 980 feet, 400 feet AGL. It is recommended to do a right downwind pattern to runway 29 close in.
Okay, 3 in the green, flaps approach. Gas fullest tank. Carriage mixture in, prop in. Little River traffic, Bonanza 7226 kilo is crossing midfield for left downwind approach 29 Little River. Little River traffic, Bonanza 7226 kilo is turning final 29.
So second of all, Elk is in Mendicino County, which we already mentioned, California, formerly known as Greenwood and Elk River. It is an unincorporated community located 22 miles south of Fort Bragg at an elevation of 135 feet. Elk has a population of 208. It is located on the coast at the crossroads of State Route 1 and Philo Greenwood Road. Albion, Little River, and Mendicino lie to the north, and Manchester and Point Arena to the south. Inland are Navarro, Philo, and Boonville. Elk was originally called Greenwood after the Greenwood brothers, early homesteaders and sons of mountain man Caleb Greenwood and his half-Crow wife, one of the rescuers of the Donner Party. When the post office was opened in 1887, there was already another Greenwood in California, so it was called Elk Post Office. Eventually, the name came to refer to the town. It is an outgrowth of an earlier town called Cuffy's Point, and the cemetery is located at that town site 1 mile north of Elk. When pioneer lumberman Lorenzo White was unable to reach a satisfactory deal with the owners of the lumber chutes at Cuffy's Cove to ship out his redwood product, he constructed a wharf out along a string of rocks in the center of what is now called Elk. When he built a large steam sawmill and 3-foot gauge railroad, the new employment drained the town of Cuffy's Cove, which was eventually abandoned. The sawmill was producing about 80,000 board feet of lumber per day in 1890. The mill was sold to Goodyear Redwood Company in 1916. Elk River Company took over the sawmill when Goodyear went bankrupt in 1932. The local redwood lumber industry economy collapsed when the uninsured sawmill burned in 1936. A new sawmill was built around 1953 and another followed in 1963. These operated until the late 1960s when the redwood and Douglas fir was mostly logged out. After some quiet times, the town has had a rebirth as a recreation destination. Many of the larger old houses are now bed and breakfast inns, and the state has acquired Greenwood State Park and the original mill site as a state park. Elk makes for a perfect 3-day pilot weekend getaway. This is the Big Sur you haven't heard of yet. While the Mendicino complex fire ravaged parts of California a couple years ago, the area of the Mendicino coast was untouched, affording visitors a step back in time to truly get away from it all. There's now a progressive, close-knit community of artists and craftspeople found in Elk, located approximately 150 miles north of San Francisco and 15 miles south of the town of Mendicino. This once bustling late 19th century logging settlement is today one of the smallest enclaves along the northern California coast, with just 208 residents. Situated on a secluded stretch of Highway 1, where the Navarro River spills into the Pacific, Elk's vistas are composed of hilly pastures and redwood forests on the one side and ocean bluffs and boundless shoreline on the other. This wild, rugged place is a step back in time locale where residents still give out their phone numbers as 4 digits. Cell phone and internet service is spotty, one of the last such seaside escapes on the California coast. Despite its small size, Elk has, I think, what most of us really look for. Driftwood-strewn beaches, art galleries, world-class dining, only without the hype of other coastal towns like Mendicino and Big Sur. So flying to Elk, if you can, fly the breathtaking stretch along the California coastline, either from the north or the south to Little River Airport. Flying at about 2,000 AGL, you can often spot whales along the coastline. There are magnificent rock formations just off the shore and beautiful blue waters. There are a few rolling hills to the east of the airport, which makes for a very nice gradual approach into Little River. There is often 1 or 2 airplanes in the pattern, so be aware. Little River Airport, with the identifier Kilo Lima Lima Romeo, is a small county-owned public-use airport located 3 nautical miles southeast of the central business district of Little River in Mendicino County. The airport was built in 1945 by the Navy and served as an outlying field to Santa Rosa Naval Auxiliary Air Station at Santa Rosa. It was part of a network of training airfields supporting Naval Air Station Alameda. The airport offered commercial air service beginning in the late 1940s, provided by Southwest Airlines, utilizing World War II surplus DC-3s. Little River Airport contains 1 asphalt paved runway designated 1129, which measures 5,249 feet by 150 feet. It has an average of about 17 landings per day, 98% of which are general aviation and 2% air taxi. There's no commercial aircraft into that area. The FBO, there's a single FBO that is manned daily with clean restrooms and self-serve avgas, which is adjacent to the FBO building to the south. There's no cell service, but a landline is available. As far as car rentals, Air Galore is on the field, but again, I would make your reservations early for the cars, especially during the summer. They go quick. They give a 10% discount to EAA members, 99s, and veterans. To reserve your car, again, call 707-972-4498 or email at c3458j@gmail.com. There are 2 long-awaited hotels have opened in Mendocino Coast. The Harbor House Inn in Elk is a 1916 redwood home, which was originally built by the local logging company and designed to showcase the beauty of the region's lumber. It is a magnificent building, and after an 8-year renovation, the inn reopened in May 2018 with 10 rooms starting at $355 a night, breakfast included, which might be one of the best breakfasts you'll ever had. It's created by a Michelin 2-star chef. It also has the destination restaurant, Chef Matthew Kammerer, and a small team including his partner, Amanda Nemec, who serves as the general manager, moved to Elk from the San Francisco Bay Area. They have spent years building the landscape of the garden, including raised bed, gravel paths, and terracing, as well as refining the interior appointments of the newly renovated inn perched on the bluffs. It has quickly become a celebrated and successful chapter for the historic establishment. The 5-acre property includes an outdoor patio with ocean views, as well as gardens, orchards, and a waterfall, and a private beach for guests' use. Right away, both the pleasures, stunning beauty, wild bounty, slow pace become apparent and really speak to your soul. 30 miles north of Elk, in Fort Bragg, located on a high bank where the Noyo River becomes a harbor, the Noyo Harbor Inn has 15 rooms starting at about $200 a night, nearly all with wide views of the waterfront of the Pacific. Many of Mendicino's rustic redwood homes have been converted to vacation rentals in recent years. A mile and a half from Mendicino Village, pet and child-friendly Mendicino Treehouse is not only built of redwood, but the octagonal cottage is built around a living tree. 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms starts at $275 a night. The other option is the Elk Cove Inn and Spa, a bed and breakfast set within a craftsman-style mansion dating to 1883. This pet-friendly inn boasts a breakfast buffet, complimentary happy hour each afternoon, a spa that features organic oils and salts, and private stairs to access a quiet stretch of the beach in the cove. So where to eat in Elk? This is the primary reason we come to Elk, the restaurant at the Harbor House Inn. Chef Matthew Kammerer, formerly executive sous chef at the Michelin 3-starred Saison in San Francisco, serves the most amazing menu that highlights the hyper-local ingredients of Mendicino's South Coast. A tasting lunch menu is also available, and in-room dining is also a credible deal if you're staying there more than one night. In 2021, Michelin gave the restaurant 2 Michelin stars. In 2020, the chef was awarded James Beard semifinalist for Rising Star Chef of the Year. Also, Michelin Guide California awarded a Green Star Award. In 2019, Michelin Guide California gave him 1 star. In 2019, Food and Wine named him the best chef. In 2019, he was a semifinalist for the best chef in the West. When you're staying at Harbor House Inn, you will witness every day that his team is out harvesting from the gardens and from the ocean. Sea lettuces, kelp, and ocean water daily to make compound butters, breads, broths, and sea salt. With his elemental, naturalistic cuisine made entirely from ingredients sourced within 50 miles, the chef has single-handedly put Elk on the dining map. The nuanced flavors of smoke from different varieties of trees in the area impart many of the dishes, such as black cod smoked over bay laurel served with sprouted rye, a deep treasure of a dish with intense richness and texture. Flavors and textures aside, each element is precisely executed with intuitive timing, which leaves the diner wanting for nothing. The serving staff includes the chefs at times. As courses ebbs and flows, so does the remarkable choreography of service, accentuated by such details as hot towels offered to warm the hands and the presentation of a choice of sake vessels from a handsome wooden box. Each dish is described articulately and simply as the serving utensils and dishes for each course are arranged and removed. With a crusty, chewy seaweed sourdough, 2 varieties of cultured butter are offered atop a smooth river stone. The Knights Valley Wagyu, served over taproots and tiny corn, is accompanied by steak knives forged by a local craftsman. The fragrant Yerba Buena pine and marigold tea includes an evergreen sprig dipper for the grilled honey, which tastes of caramelized sunlight. Desserts tend to be only slightly sweet, with unusual flavors such as kombu ice with spent coffee grounds and toasted rice. French wines, which tend to be highly in minerality and acid, work well with the flavors and textures of Harbor House, but several local wines appear on the menu as well as beer, sake, and cider. Thoughtfully prepared, the beverages are beautiful on their own. The dining experience is intended to make guests feel good and satisfied, nourished but not overly full, reminiscent of the Okinawan phrase hara-hachi bu, which teaches people to stop eating before they are completely full through a practice of eating slowly, using small vessels, and focusing on the food. Indeed, though there are many courses, the food is light, the pace is luxurious, and each serving is just enough to fully savor without overindulgence. It is truly theater. It is just that sort of experience that Matthew wants to share with the world, enlightening people with the wonder and simplicity that nature has to offer while making minimal impact. Of sustainability, one of the pillars of the ethical vision, Matthew says, we try not to waste anything at all.
Ice cream.
What is it?
Toasted kombu ice cream with honeycomb candy, a little bit of lavender, and coffee.
Wow.
Thank you. Look at these beautiful glasses.
The never-ending bottle. The never-ending half bottle.
Just saying.
There's a nice crunch on the bottom. It's a little reminiscent of a Butterfinger.
Of what?
Butterfinger?
Oh, really?
Yeah. You tell me.
Okay.
I'm getting Butterfingers.
Butterfinger. Queenie's Roadhouse Cafe is Elk's main breakfast and lunch hangout. Once a livery stable and Studebaker showroom, it's a current old-school diner incarnation and is filled with teal and yellow Formica tables, a wood-burning stove, and vintage photographs lining the walls. While locals favor the homemade corned beef hash and patty melt, healthy options like organic, vegan tofu, veggie stir-fried also make the menu. Don't leave without ordering one of the flaky fruit scones which chef and owner Lynn Derrick, better known as Queenie, bakes fresh daily. For a quick hit, the Elk store sells groceries, coffee, locally made condiments, and baked goods sourced from nearby bakeries. It's particularly beloved for its made-to-order sandwiches, like the Albion, a sandwich starring the vegan sunflower seed cutlet, and the torta made with house-smoked tri-tip. The wine selection is just as tempting with its wide selection of Anderson Valley wines. We never go to Elk without stopping at the Elk store, picking up some sandwiches and taking them down to the beach with a bottle of local wine. Besides eating, what else is there to do in Elk? The biggest attraction in town is Greenwood State Beach, a top spot for bow fishing, diving, kayaking, and beach walks. It's accessible via a half-mile track down to the Pacific fronting shores, a favorite stretch for beachcombing treasures like sea urchin, abalone shells, and driftwood. Or stick to the top bluff where picnic benches boast clear views of the ocean, scenic rock arches, and sea stacks. Also worth a peek is the Greenwood Museum and Visitor Center, occupying part of the town's original late 19th century post office. It features photographs of early settlers, lumber camp artifacts, period furnishings, and a mural that depicts Elk's Greenwood Wharf as it stood in the 1800s. The Artist Collective in Elk showcases fine art from a group of some 30 Mendicino area artists. Get a sense of local art scenes here while chatting with one of the collective artists on duty. Also try Matson Mercantile, dubbed the Merc by locals, which sells everything from housewares, loose leaf teas, and gardening tools and hardware supplies. It's owned by the Matsons, a family that has been involved in Elk community for over 100 years. Personally, we have a number of items from the area, including tables, coffee tables, and locally made dining sets. Finally, on the final day, and the day of departure usually involves a leisurely in-room breakfast prepared by the staff at Harbor House Inn, and then a short drive along scenic Highway 1 to the airport, which is to the north. This day there was some fog along the coast, which usually burns off by noon. The airport is above the fog, so no issues with the VFR departure. The car is left at the airport, and the departure is to the west to avoid homes to the north. This takes you over the town of Mendicino along the coastline to the north. With Harbor House, again, it's the salt you need to know about first. It tastes so big and briny that to let a few flakes melt in your tongue is to feel sucked under a wave, tumbled about in the tide. Matthew makes it himself, hauling gallons of seawater up craggy Mendicino cliffs, letting it slowly evaporate until the stuff shatters like crystal. This salt is the foundation of everything at Harbor House Inn. It sets the stage, not just in flavor, but in ideology. Each detail here, no matter how minute, shores up the sense of place. It's our job to give people an experience that they can't have anywhere else. I could order the same ingredients that everyone gets in San Francisco, but I wouldn't be able to sleep at night.